Good day, everyone. My name is Len, and I will be reporting on the different personality disorders as discussed by Barlow, Durand, and Hoffman, as well as in the DSM 5. So we will begin with the Cluster A personality disorders. Cluster A personality disorders share common features that resemble some of the psychotic symptoms seen in schizophrenia. So for this video, we will be discussing the definition, the symptoms, some of the potential causes, as well as treatments of three different personality disorders, namely paranoid, schizoid, and schizotypal. So, for the first one, paranoid personality disorder is a pattern of distrust and suspiciousness such that others' motives are interpreted as malevolent. So, this isn't the adaptive type of being, a little wary of other people and their motives. People with paranoid personality disorder, they are excessively mistrustful and suspicious of others without any justification. They assume other people are out to harm or trick them, so they tend not to confide in others. In the book, the example was the story of Jake, who did poorly in school from a young age. Jake eventually came to believe that his classmates and teachers conspired to make him fail. After graduation, he bounced from one job to another. He then spiraled and went on to think that he was part of a CIA experiment as a child and that there was a microchip implanted behind his ear that causes him to slowly get cancer. He increasingly grew suspicious that the government and everyone is out to get him. Jake was eventually seen by a psychologist and found that he has paranoid personality disorder. So, this is an example of what the disorder would look like. Moving on to the diagnostic criteria for this disorder, there are two sections. So, Section A states that this is a pervasive distrust and suspiciousness of others. Paranoid personality disorder could begin in early adulthood and is indicated by four or more of the following. So, number one, suspicion without basis. Number two, unjustifiable doubts about the trustworthiness of others. Number three, reluctance to confide in others because of fear that their information will be used against them. Number four, reading hidden threatening meanings into rather benign remarks. Number five, persistently bearing grudges such that they become unforgiving of insults, of slights, and the likes. Number six, perceiving attacks on their character that are not apparent to others. And lastly, number seven, having recurrent unjustified suspicions regarding fidelity of their partner. Section B states that it does not occur exclusively during the course of schizophrenia, a bipolar disorder, or depressive disorder with psychotic features, or another psychotic disorder, and is not attributable to the physiological effects of another medical condition. This means that the symptoms don't happen only because the person has schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and other psychotic disorders. And the symptoms aren't caused by a medical or physical issue like brain condition, infection, seizures, hormone problems, or the effects of substances or other medications. So, clinicians use this to make sure that they are not mislabeling symptoms that are actually coming from a different mental disorder or a different medical cause. For the potential causes, it states that this disorder may be common among relatives of people with schizophrenia. It may also be because of traumatic early childhood experiences and other forms of maltreatment. There could also be cultural factors. So there are certain groups of people like prisoners, refugees, older adults that may be more susceptible to this because of their unique personal experiences. For the treatment, what therapists usually use is cognitive therapy to help people with paranoid personality disorder. So they support them in countering their mistaken assumptions about others, and they focus on helping them change their beliefs that people are inherently malevolent and that everyone cannot be trusted. Moving on to the next disorder, we have schizoid personality disorder. Schizoid personality disorder is a pattern of detachment from social relationships and a restricted range of emotional expression. So, people with this disorder are more than just loners. They show a pattern of detachment from social relationships, and they also show a limited range of emotions in interpersonal situations. So, most of the time, people with schizoid personality disorder, they seem aloof, they seem cold and indifferent to other people. The term schizoid is relatively old, having been used by Bleuler in 1924 to describe people who have a tendency to turn inward and away from the outside world. So, uh, our key terms here are they turn inward and they turn away from the outside world. For this disorder, let us consider the story of Mr. Z. So, Mr. Z is a scientist who was referred after his return from a tour of duty in Antarctica, where he had stopped cooperating with others, had withdrawn to his room, and had begun drinking on his own. He was orphaned at age 4 and was raised by his aunt until age 9, subsequently looked after by an aloof housekeeper. At university, he excelled in his studies, but his social life suffered. His only interaction was playing chess, and he didn't have close friends. He mainly engaged in solitary activities his entire life, and his work eventually deteriorated as he started to drink alone. He didn't understand why people are having a hard time dealing with him, but he also seemed indifferent about it. So, schizoid personality disorder is a pervasive pattern of detachment from social relationships and a restricted range of expression of emotions in interpersonal settings. This could start to show signs during early adulthood and may present itself in various contexts. So, for this one, it should appear four or more times as follows. So, number one, does not desire or enjoy close relationships, including being part of a family. Number two, almost always chooses solitary activities. Number three, has little to no interest in sexual experiences. Number four, has little to no pleasure participating in any activities. And number five, lacks close friends. Number six, indifferent to praise or criticism. And number seven, shows coldness, detachment, or flattened affectivity. Same with paranoid personality disorder. These symptoms aren't only happening because of other mental disorder like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or severe depression with psychosis. And they are not caused by a medical condition. For the causes, heredity and abuse or neglect during childhood were identified as potential causes of the disorder. And research also demonstrates significant overlap with ASD or what we call autism spectrum disorder. As for the treatment, Therapists may focus on helping them understand the value of social relationships. So there are cases when the person with the disorder may even need to be taught emotions felt by others so that they learn how to empathize. Last but not the least, for cluster A personality disorders, we have schizotypal personality disorder. So this disorder is a pattern of acute discomfort in close relationships, cognitive or perceptual distortions, and eccentricities of behavior. So like those with schizoid personality disorder, people with schizotypal disorder are also typically socially isolated. Additionally, they may behave in unusual ways, they may have odd beliefs, and they tend to be suspicious. Some consider schizotypal personality disorder to be on a continuum with schizophrenia, meaning um, they are on the same spectrum, except schizotypal does not include hallucinations, delusions, and other more debilitating symptoms. For this personality disorder, let us briefly examine the life of Mr. S. So, Mr. S, a 35-year-old chronically unemployed man, was referred for a vitamin deficiency linked to his avoidance of foods he believed were contaminated by machines. In his 20s, he left his family after adopting unconventional dietary beliefs and an Eastern religion that he said opened his third eye. He now lives alone on a small farm, growing what he can and bartering for the rest. He spends most of his time researching food contamination, has gained a small following, and keeps little contact with his family. He plans to study herbalism to improve his diet, but refused medication from physicians and became uneasy when his deficiency was discussed. So, this is an example of what someone with schizotypal personality disorder would look like. For the symptoms, Section A states that it is a pervasive pattern of social and interpersonal deficits. This includes reduced capacity for close relationships and perceptual distortions and eccentricities of behavior. To be considered as a person with schizotypal personality disorder, one should hit five or more of the following criteria. So, the first one is ideas of reference, meaning the person often misinterprets ordinary events as being specifically related to them, but the belief is not fixed or held with delusional certainty. Number two, odd beliefs or magical thinking. So, for example, superstitiousness, clairvoyance, telepathy, etc. Number three, unusual perceptual experiences like bodily illusions. And number four, odd thinking and speech, often vague, circumstantial, metaphorical, over elaborate, or stereotyped. Number five, suspiciousness or paranoid ideation. Number six, inappropriate or constricted affect. Number seven, odd, eccentric, or peculiar behavior or appearance. Number eight, lack of close friends other than first degree relatives. And last but not the least, number nine, excessive social anxiety associated with paranoid fears, not because of negative judgments of the self. Same with the first two conditions for the section B, but this one did not specify that it is not attributable to the physiological effects of another medical condition. Historically, the word schizotype was used to describe people who were predisposed to develop schizophrenia. Schizotypal personality disorder is viewed by some to be one phenotype of a schizophrenia genotype. Phenotype is one way a person's genetics is expressed, while genotype is the gene or genes that make up a particular disorder. Some studies have shown that an increased prevalence of schizotypal personality disorder among relatives of people with schizophrenia. And like the other personality disorders that we discussed, it is also associated with childhood maltreatment. So we can see a trend here how important child development and parenting are to the development of these disorders. For the treatment, medical and psychological treatments for depression are included, as well as a combination of different approaches like antipsychotic medication, community treatment, and social skills training to treat the symptoms. Also, this is an important point. In order for us to avoid the onset of schizophrenia in younger persons, what's proving to be a promising prevention is a combination of antipsychotic medication, cognitive behavior therapy, and social skills training. So, this ends our discussion on Cluster A personality disorders. Like I said in the beginning, this cluster shares common features that resemble some of the psychotic symptoms observed in schizophrenia. And to summarize, there are three disorders belonging to this cluster, which are paranoid, schizoid, and schizotypal. And if you notice, they are characterized by odd eccentric behaviors.